Hi, everyone. I am excited to welcome another guest to an Instagram Live today. A longtime client, friend, and now team member, Sammy. So we're just going to wait for her to hop in here. Let me see if I can get her an invite, if that makes it easier. Invite. And just bear with us. I'm also trying a new setup in the office. I'm not quite sure this is the angle yet. Oh, see, now I'm cut off. We'll see. We'll rock with it. This is a weird angle. Trying to fix this. Hi,
Good
Sammy. How
morning.
are you?
Oh, not bad. Don't worry. I'm sitting in front of the window with my phone like propped up on a like cubby because that's what we got.
That's what we got. We roll with what we got. It was so funny. I was like sitting in my little corner office nook here and thinking about that exact thing this morning of like how easy it is to get caught up in like I'm not going to do it until I have it all perfect.
Yeah,
Because I've done that, as you know, so many times. Garden, new office, all the things. And, the first few weeks down here, I spent with like my phone propped and this whole thing rigged. And now, slowly, you all can't see it right now, but I am getting my little content creation nook set up. So, work in progress,
always.
always. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
Great. My eyes are no longer dilated. That was a wild adventure yesterday. If any of you missed it in my stories, I was not prepared for what it would be like after having my eyes dilated. I was out for the afternoon. And Sammy
I
knew.
called it.
Sammy was like, all right, so I'll just expect you to be out of office the rest of the afternoon. And I was like, oh, I'll be here. Nope.
Nope. Mm-mm.
So all right. Well, before you hopped on, I gave a little brief overview by naming that longtime client, friend now, and also you are one of my team members. So why don't you give us a little introduction on who you are and what you do in all of your amazing multi-passionateness?
We wear a lot of hats around here. I'm Sammy. On the socials, I'm obviously Pinefell Farm because that is my biggest passion. Is we have a small homestead that takes care of our family and helps bless like our local community. We raise pigs and chickens for meat and eggs and meat rabbits and horses and general chaos. I'm also a military spouse, so life is just eternally a bit crazy.
Yep.
And I'm a virtual assistant or virtual online best friend, right hand. I don't know what to call it, and that's okay. I wear all the hats. I love it.
I feel like your clients probably all call you different things, right?
Yeah.
Similarly to like my clients all resonate with different titles for me.
Yep.
And it's really more about the power of the work that you do. So, because I think people who aren't familiar with the online business world, like, don't necessarily know what a virtual assistant is. And part of that is also because it encompasses such a wide range of things, and every virtual assistant has different specialties. So, why don't you like paint a little bit of picture of like you as a virtual assistant?
So my love language is the back end. I love the nitty gritty BS that everybody hates doing. And guilty. I hate doing it for myself too. The emails, the client reach out, the spreadsheet tracking, some content creation in general, just like right hand, call you out on your ish, tell you that this idea is amazing and you need to run with it and stop procrastinating, stop waiting for it to be perfect.
I feel like I'm being called out. All right, let's go.
Um, oh, we had dogs joining us. I knew that wouldn't last.
That's all good.
Really, if you can throw it at me other than graphic design or
Sure.
copywriting, chances are I'm going to have a ball running with it and learning a new skill and being just a general support. I think
Yeah.
that so many of my clients don't realize how much they need that right hand.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's always interesting, like, and having gone through a similar like done for you journey myself with some virtual assistant, online business management, marketing work, and then kind of having coached you through a lot of your journey. It's always fascinating to like watch when you bring on a new client and they realize like how amazing it is to actually have that person that they can give stuff to, and it'll get done, and it'll get done like to their level. And it's very, and then on the client side of it, speaking as the client, like it's very reassuring, and it's just like this breath of like fresh air and relief like when you have that, because then suddenly not only are you not alone, it's not all on you all the time. Like, you know, there's someone that's going to be like there with you or coming in behind you and like just grabbing and taking care of, at least in how you operate.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. That's my love language. I love when you go, "Hey, here, I have like this video. Take it and run with it." And an hour or two later, I send you a whole document full of all sorts of goodies and ideas and like highlighted amazingness that needs to be shared in the world. And you go, "Oh my goodness, I didn't even think of like XYZ."
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. I love that. So let's take it back, because we've been working together in like that coach client dynamic for, gotta be, we've gotta have hit our 2 year
Oh,
mark,
we
or
definitely.
right around the 2 year mark. I feel like it was right around this time, because you were in the very, very first cohort of Permission to Be
Yeah.
2 summers ago.
Yes.
And we had already worked together one on one a
Yeah.
little bit. So
I think that's where we started. And
tell our, so it may even be longer than that now. Tell a little bit of the story of like how we connected, because I think it's always interesting for people to hear those wild internet connections.
the homesteading world is a really big one and a really small one.
Yeah.
Me and Kate met through a fellow homesteader, Venison for Dinner, which is also Kate, but with a K.
Kate with a K.
Kate with a C did some shirts back when she did crafty things still for sale. And she shared some really cool stuff, realized how local you were. We're
Local.
only a couple, yeah,
Yeah.
local, couple hours apart.
Local in the homesteading world
Yeah,
to each other.
local, yeah, yeah. And I followed you because I just felt inspired and felt drawn to you. And I lurked for a while. I lurked for a
Yeah.
long while. It was probably close to a year,
Yeah.
but your stuff was just resonating so hard. And I was in such a stuck season.
Mm.
I was a new mom. My husband is active duty military. We've always had farm stuff, but I was super unsure of just what I wanted to do. And I was so lost.
Yeah.
I was so lost as a person at that point because I had been a long time, I'm a long time horsewoman. At that point, I had given up mostly teaching riding lessons just because it didn't fit with our life anymore. And that was a huge blow.
Mm-hmm.
And just my identity had disappeared. I was now a mom, which I had been a nanny forever, but being a mom is a whole different world. I
Mm-hmm.
still had a desire to work. I've done virtual assistant stuff for ages,
Yeah.
but never, other than some of my long-term clients that I've literally been with for over 10 years, I never really found my spot. Oh, for the love of fluff. Can you hear the dogs?
Okay. Yeah, but
Okay.
it's fine. They're dogs.
So I was super lost. And then I saw you post about Permission to Be. And it was like, even then, and I do tend to be like shiny course person, but guilty. I never finish them. I have spent thousands of dollars and I don't finish
Yeah.
courses ever.
That's hard.
And I loved Permission to Be. It was truly life changing, and it came at such an important moment in my life where I was drowning. My mental health was really poor. Life at home was really hard. It was middle of COVID,
Yeah.
I think, still.
Yeah, it was the tail end for sure.
Yeah, so like I desperately needed something, and I had no idea what it was. And I'm like, I'll try it. What do I have to lose?
Yeah.
And I walked away with so much. Hello, Eris.
I think it's so funny because I feel like so many, all of the alums of Permission to Be that I've been doing these lives with this round of launching is that's been like this thread, and I don't think I quite realized it. And maybe I did because I was trying to like fine tune the language and make sure the messaging was correct for Permission to Be over the last few years. But every single one of you was like, I knew I needed something, but I didn't know what it was. And I didn't totally get why it was Permission to Be, but I knew that it was the answer. And then suddenly you're in it, and then suddenly you're having these huge experiences, and then suddenly you're having these huge transformations. But I want, before we get into your time of Permission to Be, because you've been in both cohorts, which is
Yep.
also a really cool, unique experience. You're also in cohort 3.
I'm so excited.
It's exciting because it's so much of it's the same, but so much of it is new too. Like it's evolved a lot since the first year, but it's also taken another growth evolution from last year. So I'm really excited about that. But before we go there, because you said something else really interesting that I think a lot of people who have dabbled in like the online coaching world in terms of getting coached and experience, you said something very poignant, like, I'm a shiny object person. I sign up for a lot of courses and then I don't finish them. And I remember the very first time you actually you had reached out to me before asking questions about the shirts, because
Mhm.
I had screen printed the shirts for Kate and we just chatted about that. You ordered a shirt. But I remember when you reached out to me asking my opinion on if you should sign up for, and I don't know whose course it was, so
I
no
don't.
shade there, but asking like, hey, I'm really stuck and lost. Do you think I should sign up for this course on how to be a better virtual assistant? And we chatted a little bit, and I was like, wait, but you're already a virtual assistant. You already know what you're doing. You don't need another course telling you like what to do and how to do it.
Yep. I forgot about
Yeah, and
that.
that's how we started working one on one. So you did an intensive, we did an intensive together. That's what kicked it all
Yep.
off. And then I think you landed in Permission to Be after that. And I think too, like, to bring it all back together, Permission to Be is like so much more than that, right?
Oh,
It's, yes, there's structure, yes, there's kind of some anchoring of learning, but it's all about coming back home and reconnecting with all of who you are so that you can give yourself permission to be all of those pieces, live in all those ways, prioritize yourself. So,
yeah.
anyway, tell us about your, and we kind of put it both together the first time, the second time, but like, so going into Permission to Be, pretty lost, felt like you were drowning. Tell us what your like big aha moment was in Permission to Be.
It, now you're really digging in there. What, like, I just had a light bulb moment, and I've been through this course twice. I'm headed into it the third time.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's good stuff in it. And I just had this amazing light bulb moment. Yes, the structure was amazing. The accountability was amazing. But what I didn't realize I needed was the community. And I'm an introvert. I'm
Mm.
hardcore introvert. And it makes perfect sense that like the first round resonated so hard because I had just given up my writing lesson business, which I was still involved, but not to the extent. And that was like my community. I have ridden literally since birth.
Yeah.
Horses are massive, and I gave that up, and I felt very alone, which I don't think I realized until now. And Permission to Be, not only did it encourage me to do things that made me uncomfortable, like dance. Kate Love makes me dance. Uh, but I was doing it with other amazing people who had my back and
Yeah.
were there on the good days and the bad days. And being in the online world, I don't go to an office every day. Most days I don't talk to anybody in person,
Right.
especially that's, over 3 foot tall. So to have that community with you going through all of these different guided prompts, activities, it gave so much more than just like, hey, read this, watch this video, do these
Right.
things.
Right.
That doing it together was, I think, really what sets it apart.
Yeah.
And that
I love that.
really, like, that was what I needed when I had no idea.
Yeah.
Absolutely no idea.
Right. I love that. So looking back, maybe it's not an aha moment then, but like what has been the ripple out that you've experienced into like your business, your personal life, whatever, from your time in Permission to Be? Like what would you attribute to that?
I the biggest thing, I gave myself permission to put myself
Mm,
first. I have that caretaker archetype, educator, always doing for others and caring for others, and eternally putting myself
mm,
last. Not even putting I wasn't even on the list.
mm.
I wasn't even on the flipping list. And that first round of Permission to Be and having that weekly prompt of like, this week you're gonna go put your feet in the water, or you're playing the mud, you're gonna dance, whatever it was like that accountability of like, hey, all of these other people are doing it too. Do it for yourself. And I made it a priority to follow through and do the things, even when they made me uncomfortable, like
Yeah.
dance. But we will always cheer
Jeez.
Anna now. Um, it forced me to put myself on the list and make it a priority, and that stuck.
Yeah.
It stuck, and it allowed me to be creative again and spend money on things that make me happy and bring me joy. Like did I buy my laser last year? I think it
Yeah,
was
I
last
think
year.
so. It was last year.
Which was a really big purchase. And like, yeah, I sell some things I make, but I also bought it for myself because
Yeah.
I enjoy
Right.
crafting.
Right.
And
Right.
I gave myself permission to spend 4 figures on a
Yeah.
toy. And it
Yeah.
brought me a buttload of joy. And when I get to make gifts and give them, because that is just my personality, like best thing ever.
Yeah. So what's been like the biggest transformation you think then from the fact that you've started over the last 2 years consistently putting yourself first and prioritizing yourself? What's changed?
My marriage is a lot better. I
Which, as caretakers, we always think the opposite, right? Like, hey, I'm going to put them first to make my marriage better, and really, it's this vicious cycle.
difference. Yeah, I had to. It made such a difference in my marriage, my momming, my own mental health.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm neurodivergent. I struggle with anxiety and like the world.
Yeah.
And when I started consistently saying no, I need to fill my cup first. I need to do for me first, or even giving myself permission to say, "Hey, I'm bowing out."
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would have in the past, old me would have just pushed through. And we had just talked about this in some of my own business stuff that I'm like tabling at the moment. Like before, I would have never let myself say like, "Hey, I'm
Pause.
tabling this," and that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
We're in a really busy season, and all these years later, after doing all of this, I am saying like, "Hey, I'm gonna pause this, and the world's not gonna
Yep.
end," and that's
Yep.
filling my cup.
Yeah. I love that.
Plus,
So
my
you've
business is
gone a
successful.
couple rounds of Permission to Be. You did Joy Collective Mastermind.
Yep.
You went on the Joy Retreat.
Yes. What a life changing
Mhm.
event.
So, like, what I, I think the interesting part about Permission to Be and the work that I do in the world is that it's always both. It starts with self, with the goal of improving your business, your leadership, all of that. So, what are some of those changes you've seen in your? We've talked a little bit about the personal life, but what about your professional life, your business? Your business is from our time working together.
Because there are multiple wearing those many hats. My businesses are so much more successful now because I can hold the boundary,
Mm-hmm.
which I did not give myself permission before to hold those boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I am almost waitlist with my virtual services business. I have room for one more client. That's it.
And you had zero when we
I
started.
had zero. I had stopped doing it altogether because I was so burnt out.
Yeah.
I was so burnt out because I had nothing to give
Mhm.
anybody because I wasn't filling myself. Um so yeah, my virtual services business has exploded and stayed really beautiful, steady, that's maintainable and
Yeah.
healthy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sustainable for you.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
sustainable for me.
Yeah.
And while I'm wearing all of the hats, you know, I've got over 100 chickens right now. I have 8 pigs, one who is due in, my records are really bad this year. Um, one that's due
Suited.
in the next month. With piglets, you know, we are in the heart of planting the garden and busy season. My husband just got home from 4 months of being out of the state.
Yeah.
And I know we touched on this the other day, but I didn't burn out.
Yeah.
I kept skills that I learned through Permission to Be and the Joy Collective and had this amazing support. And I ran my businesses through all of that, through solo parenting, solo farming, solo business by myself for 4 months in the middle of one of the worst winters we've had.
Yeah.
And I didn't burn
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Yeah. This was a big lift for you the last 6 months, like a really big test in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And without, you know, working so hard on those skills that we learned in Permission to Be and putting ourselves first and giving us permission to, you know, ask for help and say no and say yes.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been in absolute shambles. Instead, it was really
Yeah.
successful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, I've got, what? I have to count 4 steady clients,
Yep.
4 clients. I do some little, you know, side projects
Projects. Yeah.
because I enjoy them.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what is advice you would give to any, because I know there's a lot of people on the fence right now. And this is always the wild part about launching Permission to Be, because it is so much about taking this big personal leap. I think it can be really intimidating to people, or it's not clear yet, right? Like you've all voiced, like I wasn't sure what I needed. And it's hard to trust that Permission to Be is the answer. So, what advice would you give to someone that's kind of been like thinking on it or on the fence or just curious? What advice would you give to them?
You owe yourself to invest in yourself. You can't fill from the empty cup. And Permission to Be, it kind of reminds me of like shopping at TJ Maxx. Like you go into TJ Maxx, you don't know what you need. It tells you
Mm.
what you need, or thrifting. It will tell
Or
you what you
thrifting.
need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Permission to Be really reminds me of that in the sense of it will be exactly what you need it to be. Because round
Mm.
one was very different internally than round 2. And I'm
Yeah.
sure round 3, especially with all the improvements you're making, because I get to see the behind the scenes, it's going to be, you know, something entirely
Yeah.
different. But it's going to meet me exactly where I am, and it's going to provide me with whatever I need in this season of life. And the beauty of it is you get to put in however much or little that you can and that you have capacity for, and the group will be there with you, you know, whether it's you are in the group once a week or you just make the calls, or if you're in there every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's always a wide range.
And that's so beautiful. There's no expectation. There's no, you have to do these things.
Right.
It is
Right.
always, I know you've talked a lot about like your sacred pause. It's always meeting yourself where you are,
Yeah.
not doing it as an obligation.
Yeah. Yeah. I love,
And
love that. Love that analogy to like the thrift store, and like it's like you find what you need there by exploring, right? By going in and giving yourself permission to explore. And like that's really what it's about, right? It's not about getting yourself all perfect into a point where you can be like, oh, I'm gonna have all the time and all the energy to invest in this program. That's never gonna happen. It's
no,
not real life. Like we're kidding ourselves if that, like that's that perfectionism cycle. But if you give yourself permission to show up and try it out, it's gonna show back up in such beautiful ways for you because of how it's been crafted and because of the community.
exactly. And that's the beauty of it is I struggle personally with like creative stuff or working on myself because I never know where to start. I never know what to do. And having, you know, the prompts and the very gentle guidelines of like, hey, you know, this is the theme for the
Right.
week. And
Right.
you get to run with it however feels good.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
give yourself, you know, even in the things that you're like, I don't know how I feel about that. You meet
There's
it where
choices. There's always choices.
always, always. And you know, it can be as simple as sit in the
Yeah.
grass, feel the sun on your
Sometimes that's exactly it, and that's enough.
totally.
Sammy, thank you so much for coming on. I adore you. And is there anything that you would, any parting words that you would like to share or leave us with?
If you're on the fence, if you're contemplating it, hop on a call with you.
Yeah.
There,
Yeah.
feel the energy, feel the vibe. There's no there's no loss in, you know, a 15-minute conversation.
Yeah.
You know, see if it feels good. I mean, I started with the intensive and look at us all these years later.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's never pressure,
Yeah.
always just like clarity of like, hey, this is what I would recommend for you from what
And if
I
it's
see in my
tell
expertise.
them.
And if it's not the right thing, I will absolutely tell you for sure. And I've had a couple of those conversations recently. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
Awesome. Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'll see you soon.
I will see you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for listening in.